Welcome to Culture Before Content. Culture Before Content, from Music for All and presented by Yamaha. And now, here's your host, David Duarte.
Hey, welcome to Culture Before Content, episode 11, presented by Music for All, and with the special thanks to Yamaha, our national presenting sponsor. Hey, I'm David Duarte, your host. Our mission is to create, provide, and expand positively life-changing experiences through music, which I hope you're doing every single day. I know that's what I try to do in my classroom. I know many of you do. Of course, we all do. As we explore classroom culture with our guests today, I hope that their insights speak new ideas for you, which is the purpose of the show, inspiring a positive change in your classroom culture so that you can best do what you do. Teach music. We're thrilled to have you join us here if you are live. If you enjoy our content, please don't forget to like and subscribe and even share it on your socials. It's been very important that you've been sharing it because now more and more people are finding the show, which I do appreciate. We love hearing from you. Feel free to add your comments. If you're here live, you can put them in the chat. If you come later, you can always put them in the comments on YouTube. And again, like the videos. Share something insightful you gained from today's episode, because I think today and every day is like my free professional development. After the live show, this broadcast will be available for you. You can get to it several different ways, but if you prefer listening on the go, our podcast is available Monday in the afternoon in the Music for All podcast network via Apple Podcasts and Spotify, which you can easily find by searching for the Music for All podcast network. So enough about that. Let's talk about last week a little bit. We had Rachel Lake. Amazing. Before I even start talking about that show, I got the egg hunt thing that you sent me. And yeah, my parents are excited. Y'all shouldn't hear about it. Anyway, Rachel Lake shared insights from her tenure at Owaco High School, which, by the way, I know she spoke about this $190,000 budget, but I wanted to bring out the fact that she is a Title I school. That's something we did not mention, so I did want to bring that up. She has significantly grown that music program where she emphasizes relationships, community engagement, inclusivity, showcasing her work through various ensembles, including a newly formed mariachi band. She also highlighted the impact of travel and performance opportunities on student growth. Her approach underlines the importance of mental health and personal well-being for educators, advocating for self-care alongside professional dedication, which I cannot speak enough to. So if you didn't miss last week's episode, take a listen to it. It was awesome, amazing, such a bright star that Rachel is. Thanks so much. So enough about the past. Let's talk about the future. What's coming up today? Hey, we have Johnny Croft. Today, you will have the opportunity to experience Johnny Croft's remarkable presence. His unparalleled ability to cultivate deep, meaningful connections with students is impressive and truly inspiring. And I've got to witness it firsthand because we used to be colleagues in a district of 85,000 students. Since 2015, he has been the director of bands at Cane Ridge High School. So without any further ado, let's welcome to the show, Mr. Johnny Croft. Welcome, Johnny.
Hey, how you doing, David?
I'm doing awesome. It is so good to see you. You have such an amazing, bright face. You smile all the time. It is. If you haven't met Johnny, you're going to smile the whole time. He just is great.
Thank you.
All right, so let's start this journey of culture. Tell us, who is Johnny Croft? Tell us about maybe growing up and tell us about your job.
Okay. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. Grew up there. I was in a band, started in a band in middle school, like most people, and from there grew a love for just music and band. Found out it was just a passion of mine and continued playing in high school. And from high school, when I was in high school, my actual uncle was my band director. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, my uncle, he was my band director, and he was my band director for 2 years. And then he went on and he got a kind of like a district level job. But went on, and from high school, I played the trumpet. Got a scholarship to Tennessee State University in Nashville, Tennessee. Um, Went on and played in the concert band, wind ensemble, jazz band, marching band at Tennessee State University, um, and received my bachelor's in music education from Tennessee State. And once I graduated, I was offered a graduate assistantship to receive my master's at
Ah,
university. So I received my master's from Tennessee State University in music ed as well, and got my administrative license from Bethel University. But that's kind of like my journey through school, through music ed. Brief synopsis on it. Brief synopsis.
oh, that's amazing though. For those of you who have never seen the Tennessee State Band, it is amazing. I have some former students who have gone through the program. And so what's the name of the Tennessee State Band? They have their own name, I believe.
Aristocrat of bands.
Yeah, it's
Aristocrat
one
of
of the
bands. Yeah.
I always encourage people when we talk about stuff, go look things up because it's what inspires us all. Speaking of culture, but so I know things that you've been at Cane Ridge High School since 2015. So let's talk about your band. What is your band like at Cane Ridge?
My band at Cane Ridge, we are high stepping, show style, marching band. We have of course, we have a wind ensemble, getting started with a jazz band. We have a few small ensemble groups there at Cane Ridge. Try to make it all accessible. And the biggest thing that we have, one of the most important groups that I think that we have, is the beginning band. Reason being why I say it's one of the most important groups is because some students don't realize that they want to play an instrument until they get to high school, right? And then if all you have are advanced ensembles, it's kind of hard for them to fit into that mold, you know. And so my beginning band every year is like 25 plus. So it feeds into the other ensembles that I have.
So that's a good question. How do you get 25 kids in a high school beginning band? What's the methodology here?
Well, I just go in, I tell them, have you ever wanted to play an instrument? Have you ever looked to expand, just your musical horizons and tried it out? And many have said, well, yeah, I thought about it, but I never really tried it. Like, well, just try it. You don't have nothing to lose, and so some do, some don't. But, from there, I usually get about, like I said, 25, 30 that usually give it a shot. And they end up being, some end up being really good.
Look at that.
Yeah.
We have our first question already from former guest Vanessa Cobb. Amazing. By the way, my band room has stayed clean, Vanessa. I have worked on this. You've been amazing. What are some resources you use to help teach that beginning band? What is one of your favorite resources? So so what do you do to teach that beginning band? What's your pedagogy like?
Well, because they're older, it moves a lot faster. So, at middle school, they're younger. Especially, you start them off like 5th grade or 6th grade. They're smaller, they're younger, so it takes a little bit longer. They're like 9th and 10th grade. They're bigger. They can handle the instrument a little bit well, so it moves a whole lot faster. So I usually just start off, introducing the instruments, the instrument families, what instruments are in the family, the typical type of stuff. And I use music first, and we go with music first. And I use traditional excellence, the red book, and we go. Go ahead.
For those of you out there, Music First is a program that I still use to this date. Matter of fact, I used it because we got access access to it in COVID. It was one of our saving graces of how to teach online for those of you back in the day. So, Mr. Frankel, if you're out there listening, I'm oddly promoting again, but it has like every single beginning band book. It has advanced book. It has, for me, I use Foundations for Superior Performance. It has all that, but it has so much involved in it. But you can have access to the book. And the neat thing about Music First, just out there, is like, I don't know how you use it, but I know you can assign it to each and every kid. I found out later on, probably just let them do their own thing and then just keep up with them. You assign them too much, they're like, I don't want to do the things. And if you just let them do it, they do. So anyway, but yeah, so traditions of excellence. I actually have a question on that. So you start them. Do they have their instruments picked out prior, or is that something you present in the first weeks?
I present in the first weeks, and so
then,
I usually give them 3 choices. You know,
what are those 3 choices?
So whatever 3 choices that they would like to do. So in beginning band, I give them 3 choices. And so I said, well, maybe, if your first choice is not available, and we try it out. I have them try it out. And if if they're not real successful on it at first. Yeah, I mean, at first everybody's gonna sound like a seal or whatever when they play a trumpet.
I've been practicing. I've been working on it. Come on.
but if they're not real successful at it at first, then I move to the next one.
Do you have
if I don't have that instrument?
Yeah, do you have school provided horns, or is it something that the kids have to seek out?
School provided horn.
Oh, amazing. That's an amazing resource to have, because I know that some of the barriers that I have is if the kids don't have access, or if they have to rent and they don't necessarily have the funds to rent. So I know that do you teach I didn't say this right. Do you let them pick and then maybe make a decision later that they can change? Like, I say clarinet, maybe when you're a 9th grader or a 10th grader, might not be as easy. And then you find out, oh, you know what? I might try this trumpet now. Do they get to change?
If there's a need, yes. If there's a need, I do. And if the kid is having a hard time.
So let me ask this question then, because see, you're all fun to talk to, because I already know I don't know my questions, but I know where my thought process is going. So how many of those kids end up becoming in your marching band, or what's the inspiration for those kids to keep going?
I would say about 75%.
That is amazing. Amazing, truly amazing. Because I know the culture of your band program is based upon your amazing attitude. So can we talk about like what is the culture of your school? Do you feel like you are an all-encompassing program? Do you feel like the marching band drives the school, the wind ensemble drives the school? What drives Cane Ridge for you?
For me, what drives Cane Ridge is the concert band, the wind ensemble drives Cane Ridge band. That's what moves the needle for us for the students to be better musicians. Of course, the marching band is more visual, and the kids love it. They're all into it, and I mean, I like it too, but the skills and the things that you learn in the concert wind ensemble, it's unparalleled, but it's transferable to the market.
Oh yeah, absolutely. How many?
It's transferable.
I'm sorry. How many bands do you have at Cane Ridge? So you've got the wind ensemble. How many? Do you have any? Do you have concert band as well, or do you have more than?
Yeah. Well, it's marching band. It's marching band in the fall, and then in the spring it's concert band, and then I have beginning band. So it's really only 2. But
okay,
and I
that's
have
what I was
a
asking.
class that is like a PLT class,
right?
Which it's like a 40-minute class where most of my leaders and things are in there, and I use that kind of like band leadership class, and we do some rehearsals in there Like we have jazz band rehearsal and different things.
I wonder. So talk about that student leadership. How is your leadership structure for your school?
Leadership structure, it is, we have, of course, drum major, parliamentarian, that person take care of all the uniforms and all of that, section leaders, um, and they play a huge role in the success because ultimately it's their program. So the culture of Cane Ridge Band is, and I tell my students this, you know, the habits that you do every single day, the habits, not just in the band room, but in your life, control like how far you go, right? So if we have a goal, if we have a goal to get a superior in concert performance assessment, what are our habits going to be to get that superior concert performance assessment, right? Um, how do we scope that from now to then, to from here to wherever we go, you know? And our class start, the bell rings for fourth block, because that's where band is, at 12:45. At 12:55, that's when the downbeat happens for the warm. And everybody knows that, right? That's just the culture of it, right? And each student leader has an active role in helping that culture, shaping that culture. Um, and I asked them, like, when should it happen? You know, when should the downbeat happen?
So
And they tell me.
do you pick your student leaders, or is it something that happens naturally, or how do you pick, how do you choose those who lead?
I pick them. Um, I pick them, but I give them, they have to apply.
I gotcha.
You know, we have an application process, but some that don't apply, they may be a little hesitant. Give them a general nudge of encouragement, you know. Like, have you ever thought about, you know, being, you know, trumpet section leader? Some say, well, yeah, but I don't know if I can.
So what you're
Just
saying
give
is
it
Mr. Croft knows his kids and knows
a try.
knows when to push them when they're the leader.
Right.
They just yeah,
Yeah.
I know how this works because I know that I say this, a lot of our culture in our band classroom really is our own personality, and we all have different personalities. I'm sure you can figure out I'm a little jovial from time to time. And like I said, every time that I see you, Johnny, you're always smiling, and I'm sure that the kids flock to you for that culture. So, how would you describe what the students do outside of the classroom? Once we got say that, I mean, what are some of the things that your kids do for your program that create what you have?
Um, the kids, they do a lot of things. So one of their ideas were to celebrate birthdays every month. And
How does your
so,
band celebrate birthdays?
well, um, we do ice cream and cake, you know.
What?
Uh-huh. So if it's a September, like my birthday was in September. So it, you know, it had ice cream, cake, and all that. And it's, you know, after school rehearsal that we'll do it. So whatever after school rehearsal we have that month, we'll do a birthday celebration after that. So and that helps them around too, you know, other group. But that was from the students, you know, that was strictly from the students. And they do all of it. You know,
Do th-
they take it on, they do all of it.
is it something formalized do they have like an actual time they get together as student leaders, or is it just something that happens through the culture of your own students?
Oh, they get together. Yeah, they get we got leadership Tuesdays every
Ah,
Tuesday. Every Tuesday we get to, you know, we get together, we talk, and we talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, you know, um, what it looks like, what do we want to, how do we want to propel forward, where we are now, how can we keep going forward, and you know, where do you see Cane Ridge band in a month, 2 months, 3 months, that type of
All right, we have another question from Matthew. You spoke briefly about habits. What habits do you practice in your own life to support yourself and your students? Great question, Matthew.
some of the habits that I do in my own life. I try to speak to every student when they, in my classroom. In my classroom, I try to speak to every student when they come in. And I remember this year, I guess this girl, she was having a bad day. I said, "Hey, good morning. How are you doing?" And she turned around. She said, "Huh? What'd you say?" I said, "Hey, good morning." And I guess that just brightened up her day. I was like, "What? What's wrong?" She said, "You're the only one that spoke to me this whole day."
I, I can't stress enough that we probably should talk to our students more. And this actually goes back to episode 1, Matt Wood. He, again, like I said, this is kind of like my free professional development every day. So I take some things that everyone does, and it's kind of like a nice reminders. But he said in that podcast, just ask a question on Mondays. And I started doing it, and it does. You know, what did you do this weekend? Because like for me, this is my last day of spring break. So I haven't seen my students for a good, at 9, 10, I can't do math, 9, 10 days. And so, tomorrow's that, oh gosh, I got to get up. Oh no, the darkness is back. But it's one of the things I want to do is like just make sure that every kid gets a chance to talk, just welcome them back. As I say, we've got music, we got plenty of music to do. We're going to be doing that for the whole year. But that speaking to every student's thing, that's awesome. And I think just that little touch you have on that girl, we sometimes forget, we are all just people. And it doesn't matter whether you're 14, 15, 18, somebody, when you talk to somebody, I think that is super special. Because I
Yeah,
think that connection. And so that's what I think that we keep coming back to this word is connection. And so Johnny Croft likes to connect to his students. I know he does. So what other kinds of things are you doing to connect your students? Why do I need to stay in the Cane Ridge band if I'm your junior saxophone player?
well, some of the things that I do to connect with my students is, just Friday, I had a guest, I guess, jazz artist come in, and she brought her jazz band and everything, and they gave a whole master class clinic, right, on and the kids got a chance to ask these professional musicians like where they went to school, what made them choose music as a career, and why did they choose that instrument? What type of instrument is that? And just those simple things. And I told them sometimes, if you can see, you're right here right now, right? You're 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. But maybe one day you'll be up there, or maybe not. You may not ever play again. But the things that you learned in band can transfer to other parts of your life,
Oh,
whether
yes.
you go to college or not. And that's the culture of band, right? I had a student, I was in the store, and the student came up to me. So I said, "Mr. Crow," I said, yeah, as a student that graduated 2 years ago. He said, "I'm happy that I ran into you. I just wanted to thank you for everything that you taught me and holding me accountable in band. Um, it's helped me. You're not a coach, but some of the things that you do is it's kind of like a coach atmosphere because you hold us accountable, and that's important because I'm you say he's a manager now at his job, and he moved up like quickly because he held himself to a higher standard than what everybody else did. So
I think we forget as teachers that we do teach more than band. I know we say it because I always look at the memes out there, music is math and all these things, but I think we need to sometimes focus on what it is that music teaches and provides. That's why we talk about leadership, student organization, or just motivation or culture or connection, because those are job skills. Sometimes I worry that kids show up to band because they love it. They love you. They love the whole process. And other classes don't have that benefit. I can't imagine being an English teacher, because it's just not something that I've always taught band, to the point that those kids want to be there. But those skills do transfer over. And so, just think, another question. Hold on a second. But just thinking of all the skills that you teach that are actually life skills, and they just get this. I think we disguise them because they're band. So we got, what things do you do to plant a vision for band being a lifelong pursuit for your students? Great question, Laura.
One thing is like being on time, right? Being on time is very important, just in life in general, right? It may get you the good seat, right? Right, if you're on time, right? For something as simple as the movies, right? But if you're on time for a job interview, that seem like that you're punctual for that. If you're on time or before time for a college interview or band scholarship or audition or whatever, it's just transferable. But these things are just like lifelong skills and like work ethic. Like one thing, because in Detroit, like so I'm from Detroit, so like Detroit is not a college town. So it's more so it's we have a lot of like factories and car plants and work and stuff. So like working hard was not a thing that scared me at all. So like working hard in towards a goal, right? I think that is one thing that band teaches too. Like if you got a goal, whatever that goal is, you have to write down. I tell them you have to write down everything that you need to do to get to that goal, right? Because if you have a goal, it's just a word right there. But how are you going to get to that goal, right?
Do you think band directors sometimes forget to point out some of these things that we do? Like, I honestly think that, being on time, goal setting. I always say I have this thing called Duarte time, and I think I'm stuck with it. I think it's because my high school band director emphasized it, which means always be somewhere 15 minutes early. It just became the thing. And now I just pretty much, I don't lie. It's a bad word to say, but I do. I'm like, okay, if call time in my head is 6, I now say, it's 5:40. What time do we have to be there, Mr. Duarte? I'm like 5:45 in the parking lot.
Right.
And so I find that. But how about you? When you have to be somewhere, do you naturally show up early? Because I still do. And I have
just like today. I was here early.
You were here early. Now that I think about it, I think we're all so panicked. But I think that's one of those things. I would take I should make a list. How many life skills am I teaching? Like one day, just record my lesson and maybe think, how many life skills did I just teach? Because I don't even think I processed that, but we value that thing, because all I hear from you is you've got connection with your kids, your student leaderships. I did like the ice cream and cake part. I'm not gonna lie, but those are things. There's planning. There's all those things, and there's self-inspiration that those kids do. Because I know that's you are an inspiration to your students, and that's what comes off in their student leadership. And so, why is it that we don't bring that to education more? It doesn't matter whether you're teaching, I'm in Washington, you're in Tennessee, we all teach these goal things. I almost want to say, let's do a moment. How many life skills are we teaching in a week?
I wonder that.
And so, like you said, you mentioned it, you come from Detroit, it's a factory town, that's more of an industrial. And that's the other thing too, is we don't, band teaches more than just like not everyone's going to college. Some people are going to a trade. Some people are working in a factory. Someone's going to be an electrician, but we still teach those things of hard work, getting things done, completing it to the best of your ability, which I know is something that's important to you, getting your band to play as good at the. So what are some of those inspirational things that you do that you're providing? How, I'm sure you're not up there like, okay, that was an F sharp. Next. Nope. Okay. Hi, Mr. Croft here. Welcome to Cane Ridge High School. Let's do band. Warm up. Go. Yeah. So what give me some inspiration, Mr. Croft. Teach me.
so so some of the inspiration and things that comes from just being just being able just being able to have, I guess, to feel the room and know your students. And you have to know how far to like push and when to back off, you know. Um and sometimes that, well, that does take experience. And a lot of what we do, our kids want that push, right?
They
uh
do. But
kobe
you know what?
bryant Kobe Bryant, even though he was a great basketball player, right? But he wanted a coach to push him. Michael Jordan wanted a coach to push him, even though he was a great basketball player. If it was not a good coach, Michael Jordan would try to get that coach out of there, right?
Yeah,
Right?
well, that's that
Mhm,
high expectation thing. I
mhm,
sometimes think some of us get snowed by our own children. Like they make us
mhm,
feel like we need to come down to them at a point.
mhm,
And this is, and I talked about this. So those of you who are listening, I'm putting one hand up and one hand down. I've learned that if I do something, and so here's your expectation, here's the kid's expectation, and I think sometimes we bring it down to the kids, and I keep trying to say we got to meet more in the middle, but there are
right.
times you need to stay up here and make them
Mhm,
climb up to your high expectations. I honestly think, how many times have we come down, whether it's choosing music, we pick too hard, so now we need to come down, or or even sometimes, my band can play, I judged a festival this week, and I think maybe this is where my inspiration come. There are some bands
mhm,
that played, it wasn't about the grade level of music, because it just becomes like, I think, now that we've adjusted, now maybe you need to move your expectation up to here. And
mhm.
so, how do you push your kids with high expectations? I mean, there's got to be some common phrases your kids know that you say, or there are expectations when you walk into Mr. Cross' room. I'm sure of it. So, what are
Yeah.
some of those high expectations you have for your kids?
So some of it is that I expect them to, when they come to rehearsal, that they have already somewhat practiced the music. You
I
know,
like somewhat.
yeah, somewhat practice the music. Now we know kids got a lot of life things happening. I tell them that. I know you got a lot of life things happening, but I'm giving you a lot of opportunities to practice, not just at home, here at school too.
Okay. So
Uh,
how do your kids practice at school? Do you have it after school, before school, during school? What, lunch?
after school, open band room for an hour. I'll do that. During PLT in the morning times, we have like PLT is like a homeroom type of thing.
Gotcha. So maybe an
Um,
advisory period is it
the
for you?
advisory period, like
Is it
40
open?
minutes.
Is it
Open.
open for any student, or is it a specific set of kids?
Open for any student. Mhm.
So
Yeah,
band kids flock to your room.
yes, yes. So that's what I'm saying. Like it's times that they can, and I give them I set them up, tell them the correct way to practice, because first, that's step one. You gotta know They have to know the correct way to practice before they can practice right. Because I tell them, you can practice a million minutes a day, and you're not practicing right, it still won't be good.
I still hear goal setting from you.
Yeah,
That's all I
yeah,
hear is like, if you
yeah.
don't know what the goal is, then what are you trying to achieve?
That's it.
So who taught you how to practice, or is it something, is that just who you are? Was it your family?
Um, who taught me how to? Well, I had a my uncle, who was my band director, he did, and then I had a private lessons teacher in high school. Um, he always wrote down goals for me. He said, "Come back, Mr. Miller. It's like, come back and know this and this and this, right?" And And then when I got to college, Freddie Hope and Rod Hill, Rod Hill, uh, they were my trumpet instructors there. They taught me a lot. And that music department at Tennessee State, what I was going through, a lot of them taught me that. Professor Graves, um, Dr. McDonald, he's still there. He taught me a lot about like just scaffolding, goal setting. Dr. Simpson, um, he recently just passed away. He was a department head. He taught me a lot just about goal setting and just uh, scaffolding and just doing.
I was listening today. I don't remember what I was listening to, but it talked about scaffolding, and I think that's. Oh, I remember. I was listening to a Leslie Moffat, again, another former guest. I was listening to the TKT method, and it was on sight reading, and it was like building the structure of scaffolding, and so it made me think, because that's my push at the end of the year is sight reading, and getting through all 12 key centers, because that's like the last things that we have. Oh, look, another question from Angelo Cooper. In a time of change such as this, how would you foresee a modernization of these activities, generally speaking? Well, that's a hard question.
Yeah, modern. Yeah. Okay, how to make a modern? Um, I really don't think about it. I guess I just do it.
I was thinking about this myself, because like I've told people, I now teach music production at my school. And so that was been my version of modernization, is offering more things that students can do, because I teach at a smaller school. That's for you, Rachel Lake.
Right.
But I think it's a reaction. I think that question for me is a reactionary thing. I think if your school is doing it this way and it's working for you, do you have to modernize? I don't necessarily think the answer is you do have to modernize. I think you keep doing what's doing because it works for you. So maybe some of the, like I would assume that, as you're already thinking about next year, because you're almost done. You got like what, about a month left of school. You're probably already planning your next year, what you're going to play for music and all those things. So, but do you foresee any changes?
A few, probably a few. Like I said, more, put more like jazz band, offer more jazz band, that type of thing. But kids want to have a good band, right?
Yes, they
As
do.
Adults, it's our job just to develop that culture, right? So when I first got to Cane Ridge in 2015, the band culture and the band in general was it was at an all-time low. It was not good at all. Actually, the student body booed the band at the pep rally the year before I got there. And the kids told me about this. It was about when I got there, it was like 15 students in the program.
15?
All 15. Yes. But all 15, they were motivated and they were ready. Like they were ready to go. That were there. We recruited. We recruited, and we ended up by the second or third week or so, we had about close to 50. Yeah. And by the end of the semester, we ended up with like 55. But they wanted so bad to be good, it just needed to have some, just build those structures in place. And the kids will help you modernize what you're trying to do. Right. So, the kid, I always ask the kids, I ask the kids for song suggestions, like for the marching band, like what would you like to play?
Oh, student choice.
Like, what would you like to play? What how does this look to you? That type of thing. So because like I said, ultimately it's their program.
It is.
I'm just there to help guide them in the right direction.
That's exactly what I structured as. I'm not really a teacher. I'm a guide. I'm a band specialist who is a guide to get things. And there was just a question: can you share your process for getting your students into college band programs?
Sure. Yes. Yeah.
That's from
So
Laura.
yeah. So some of my students today went down to Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi. They had a day with they call it a day with the boom. Um, so I just put stuff out there, like a lot of times, like different programs, different colleges have different things. And I have students at UT, MTSU, Tennessee State, Jackson State, Alabama A&M, different programs everywhere. But I just put it out there what different schools are having. So some went down there and they were just so excited, right? So a day with the boom, what that looks like is they get to march with a college band program, right? They get to spend the day with them. It's kind of like our 8th grade night that we have in high school, but it's the college version, you know?
Yeah, but see, and that's what I said. I think what I hear from you is you're giving the kids a vision. I mean, and again, it's probably from your enthusiasm for what these things are. So all those colleges you mentioned, like I said, I always tell everyone, go back and watch them and see what we're talking about. The energy of these college bands is amazing. And so I'm always proud to find out where my students are going to attend. It's kind of funny because when I lived in Tennessee, I've got kids. I still have kids at MTSU. I've got kids at Austin P. I've got kids at Tennessee State. I've got kids. I got to remember some of the schools that they went to, but it's if you provide that vision for kids to go to, our profession is almost built upon, in my opinion, it's almost built upon, again, what we provide the students. See, I want to do that. I want to bring music. And I think what it comes down to is what would be your vision for your students when they leave? Not every kid's a music major. We know that, right? So what's your vision for your kids when they leave Cane Ridge? What does Johnny Croft say he wants his students to have? What's their musical responsibility from Johnny Croft?
I just want them to have an appreciation of music and just know
there's the words.
just know what it takes to put on a good performance.
So you mean
yeah,
they're not all going to major in music and be in marching band and be in concert band and no, lifelong. We are creators of lifelong appreciators of music. I feel that is what my destiny is, as what I live my life to be. And if some of them become music teachers, that's a whole different other conversation. Then we talk about work ethic, and then we talk about really being on time.
Yeah.
Be on time.
I've got a student that he works, full time, but he plays drum set, at a church. And that's what he enjoys doing. And that's his thing. And he was a percussionist,
I will bet. I will bet there are many students in many band programs that you have no idea what they're doing musically. Again, if you don't interact with your students, you're never going to know this stuff. But I found out I had a student. We had a Burgerville, which is like the burger place in Oregon and Washington, and we played. One of my students showed up with a hurdy-gurdy, or not a hurdy-gurdy, hand-hammered dulcimer. Sorry, I was watching videos on a hurdy-gurdy. Don't ask why. I don't even know why. But he actually started playing it, and I'm like, why didn't you tell me you played this? This is fantastic. And so like if we know, and so sometimes and I actually learned this during COVID, like I was trying to rack my ways, talking about trying to find a way to get kids to practice when like 90% of them can't practice at home during the day when mom and dad were working. I did a talent show. That was one of the things that I did online. Is like, and it wasn't mandatory. But next thing you know, I found out more kids played guitar, more kids played in bands, more kids played drum set than I had ever even and thought about. But like I said, that culture of just interacting with your kids, finding out who they are, inspiring them, and guiding. So yes. I try to pick who everyone is. So I hear guidance, I hear connection, and I hear goals.
Yeah. So how does David Duarte inspire his students?
David is, I have to think about this for a second. Again, I've been on spring break, so I've been all about like food. And the
Right.
scary part is I try not to bother my kids during the break, but they will eventually come after me. So how do I inspire my students? I believe in high expectations, which I've had to learn, like, I always say this: there's the Instagram version or the Facebook version of band. And so we all put that perfect picture out to the real world, but every one of us has those. There's that, the things that you don't do. So for me, what do I do? It's about high expectations. I believe I have to get my kids to become the culture. And here's the hard part. I am not a helicopter band director, and I think sometimes that's a fault. I don't manage my kids to create that culture. I guide them to get there. And if it doesn't get there right away, I keep trying to hit the reset button or finding that way. So I think it's the combination of student culture drives my bus, and then trying to get those high expectations so that we can play that music, but do it well. That's me. Um, but I think we do have another question coming up here. Work-life balance. Cane Ridge is an extremely busy program. What do you do to successfully manage all the aspects of the program and maintain your family life? That's another great question. We talked about this in many of the episodes, and that's from Tammy Taylor.
Well, my wife, she we've been married for a long time, since 2005, right? So she has seen, the growth in me, and she's been with me through there. But I always try, I don't take anything for granted, and I always try to have time, for that. And nothing else happens during that time, like a date night, and have certain time off where I don't do anything related to band or Cane Ridge or anything like that. Um, Around 2012, 2013, I got burnt out. I was at Stratford High School here in Nashville. And I had given myself, I didn't have work-life balance at all, right? And I had given myself of myself like so much that I was empty, and I had nothing left, right? And I called up Nola Jones. I don't know if you know Nola Jones.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, Nola, I know you.
She was the performing arts coordinator at the time, and Nola, I told Nola everything, and Nola, she's like, you know, to me, and we talked for about an hour or so, just about it, because she understands, because she's a band director, and she said, well, Scott Lang is coming into town, and I want you to come. I want you to come see him. He was at Blackman High School out in Murfreesboro. And I said, okay, I'll come. And she said, bring some, because it was the summertime. Like, she like, bring who you think your student leaders will be, next year. Bring them to, I'll pay for them, blah, blah, blah. And there'll be a band director session about burnout that I think you need to hear. And so I brought my drum major and a few of my other section leaders, and they went to the student session. And I went to this burnout session with Scott Lang. And Scott Lang, he just mentioned everything, just about, he hit it right on the head, just about like how much we give. We give to ourselves with the last car in the parking lot to leave. We have tons of paperwork, and the work is never done. And but you can't keep giving of yourself if you have nothing left to give, right? And he gave me a lot of tools to use. And I just from that session, I just started to do some of the things that he said, such as whatever doesn't, whatever that, what he say, I'm trying to remember. If it doesn't require a music degree and a student can do it, why are you doing it?
Right. That is a huge belief of mine. And that's, again, you asked me that question. What's my band program? We're trying to get that to happen. And Vanessa, I'm going back. It's like former guest day. Scott Lang, guest number 2, episode 2. I highly recommend. It's like the fastest episode. I had to learn to slow my talking down, but Scott is great. You have to give it to get it is what I got the message from him. And again, Nola Jones. The reason I know you, Johnny Croft, is because of Nola Jones, because she called me while I was walking around in a Dillard's. Hey, want to move to Nashville? I'm like, Nashville? Where's that? And long story. But I want to stress to you that, like, it's the people that we meet, the goals that we set, the connections that we make. And when you talk about work-life balance, I just want to say to our audience, it is okay to say no, but I almost say this, you've got to find that balance and be okay with it. And even, I mean, if you have to and it bothers you, schedule work-life balance. You know what? On Tuesday nights from 7 o'clock, I'm not talking, I'm not doing this, or Saturdays, be more purposeful in your tent, or try to find more time to get away from band. Because I always say this, we work so hard sometimes, we forget that burns us out and we're actually doing less. And if you leave and come back to it, refreshed, revived, renewed.
And it's actually this book too. I read this book.
Which one is that one? Qualities of Life, Habits of a Successful Band Director, Scott Rush. Yes, that is a fantastic book to read. And Jeremy Lane. Yes, extremely great book. I highly recommend that to everyone. I'm a culture, the Culture Code was another one that made me, it didn't help me, but it helped me provide what was going on in my head and finding that vision. But I have some announcements for you, Mr. Croft. Guess what?
Yes.
We have been talking for 53 minutes.
No way.
It is. We have to end the show.
Oh,
I don't want to. I told you it goes super fast. And then so here goes. I am going to give you a chance to give your final thoughts to everyone that's listening. So, Johnny Croft, this is your chance to talk about culture the last time. And quickly, you didn't even know this was happening because you thought we still had another hour to go. But give us your final thoughts on culture and Johnny Croft.
I say to all experienced and new band directors, build the culture in the band room that you would like to. Write down the vision that you see or the culture that you want and work towards that culture. There's no magic. There's no magic formula. There's no magic thing that happens. It just takes time, and it just takes you actually just putting in a little bit of the work to do it, and just show, if the students know you care, then they will, they'll do a lot for you. So, there's old saying, they don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. So that's really what culture is. So we build that culture, because the most impactful teachers, all the music, all those notes, F sharp, B flat, how to finger that, they'll remember that, or some may forget. They'll appreciate music, one, and they'll remember the lessons that you taught them in the band.
But
and that's truly what culture is.
They will remember you and appreciate you more. And sometimes they don't say it, but they do.
Yes.
All right. Studio audience, if you would like to reach out to Johnny Croft, even just to say thank you or say hi or get some of these ideas, or maybe when you heard this on your podcast, his email is Johnny, JOHNNY.Croft, CROFT at MNPS.org. So that's Johnny.Croft at MNPS.org. Well, Johnny, it has been, as always, it is a true pleasure to hang out with you. It's so nice to see your face and your smile. And you are truly one of the reasons that made Nashville great for me. So thanks for being on the show today, Johnny.
Thank you for having me, David.
All right. We will talk soon.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, kids. That brings an end to episode 11. So let's talk about episode number 12. Anyway, thank you, Johnny. I don't want to diminutize anything that happened. So anyway, next week we have Mr. Aaron Vogel. Aaron Vogel is the director of bands at Mountain Ridge High School in Glendale, Arizona. I know I've referenced this program a lot, but a part of that reference is to like put forth the model that we've used to make some of these things. He's been at the National Concert Band Festival. He has been Bands of America. Anyway, he's going to talk about how he built the culture at a school where there was already culture and had to take over. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Culture Before Content. Thanks for coming. I hope to see you at episode 12. Have a great day.